Hello, today we are going to install Shopware 6 inside a Docker.io Essential container or based on Essentials image and using the new Flex template from Shopware, so using Composer. The goal is to have a running Shopware inside the container, and we will use the new Symfony Flex Composer plugin to install Shopware. So here we will have a hosting environment. So that's Windows. We need Docker desktop to be set up and ready. We need Visual Studio. We will use Human Generator with the Human Generator for Shopware. One of the first videos I got more information about this. And inside the container, we will use Composer to set up Shopware. And of course, we use Docker.io to help us out. So that will be the commands that we will run inside the composer, inside the container, sorry. So let's switch and start the environment. So as usual, I'm in C repos, so I run yo, and human generator will ask me which generator to run. We use the Shopware again. We will use set up dev environment, and we call it as a 6 flex. So now please provide your Docker image like essentials latest. Yes, that's what I want. So to go back to the Docker images, we have here Docker essentials, and there's the latest and some other experimental containers. We just use the essentials latest, and the point about the essentials is that's nearly everything the same like dev, but there's no Shopware pre-installed, pre-configured, so we have to set up Shopware by ourselves. But we have the mail catcher, adminer, PHP, my lock, and so on. Good. So I already pre-select this. I click OK, use the PHP version 8.1, the Node version, everything is now prepared. I switch to CD as the 6 flex folder. Inside the folder, I run docker compose up, again detached, so I don't want to attach this. And so now it's created, started, and I can attach my Visual Studio. Let's go to the desktop, open Visual Studio Code here, and now I want to attach my container, because I already had it before. Now it's already attached to SV6 Flex. Now I'm inside the container here. So, and I see now different files because if I go to open folder, we had the last time as we used the dev container, we had www HTML. Inside the HTML, we had already the setup ready to run Shopware files. This time we have just a public folder. Okay, so we open our container file explorer inside this folder. And then we see there's just the public, nothing else. Okay, let's open the new terminal again. ls, so we see there's just the public folder. The composer needs to have it clean or it will lead to some errors. So we do remove rm rf public folder. So ls, it's empty now, clear. So what we are going to do next to avoid misspelling and mistakes, I open here my Notepad++, where I prepared the comments. So what I'm going to check out first before I start the installation, I will see which versions are existing. So Composer show, and then the Shopware production all, so I can check out, okay, which version there are, so I can use for my installation. So we see now it gives us an overview of the versions, and there I see there's the dev trunk, dev master, Shopware 5 dev, Shopware 4 dev environment, and here what I want to use is the Shopware 6.4.20.0 or Shopware 6.4.20 dev. So we will going to use this version. So I copy this, and the next here I use this composer, create project, Shopware production, and the dot here, so we are inside the container. So I clear this pvd, for example, to see the working directory, and I see we can see we are inside var www.html folder. That's important. Now composer, create project, Shopware production, the version dot, and enter. So now it's going to get all the file, download everything what's needed to run and set up Shopware. We can see here, okay, creating a project at the current folder, installing Shopware production, downloading Shopware production, installing, extracting the archive for me, and installing the dependencies here. So it's still installing. We see the installing process, generating files. So now we can see on the left side all the files that we need for the project to run are there ready. So now we have to do the next step. What we need is to run bin console system setup to get the environment file for us, and also that's the next step we should do. We need a database prepared so we can use this during the installation. So bin console system setup, bin console system setup, that will ask us some questions. So application environment prod or dev, I go with dev. URL to your public folder, each HTTP localhost, because I'm in localhost environment. Blue-green deployment, I stay with yes. Database user, as we can remember, we are in Dockware IO container, and the container already has this database, MySQL database environment up and running, and the database user is root, and the database python is also root. Database host is localhost, same port. Database name, I will name it as with flex. But the database is not prepared yet. That we're going to do next. So database SSL CA path, we don't need this, don't need this. Skip verification of database SSL certificate, yes. For production environments, of course, to handle differently. But for now, it's okay for us. So we have a preview what everything will be set up in the end file for us now. That's everything fine. We see here our database URL with our database that we just mentioned, and yeah, everything else is fine. So it's great. Yes, done. And here we see the created end file. Good. So end file is there. So then we could start the installation now, but so that's different. I want to clear this. But first we need to have the database. So we switch to our browser, and we know we have adminer up and running. So I refresh and log in with root. I create a new database, call it SVFlex. Collation should be UTF-8 MB4 Unicode CE. Save this. Now I have the empty database here. We can see this. So the database is empty. Now we go back. As the database is created, we can now check first the bin console system install help. The reason why I show you this is if you want to vary the local and the currency of the shop. So, for example, you don't want to start with just English. You want to have the default system language to be German or something else. That's the point where you have to provide this information, because afterwards you cannot change this local information. So, but for us, it's not important now. We start with the default. So we go to bin console system install basic setup. So bin console system install basic setup. I hit it. It starts the installation for me. And in a couple of seconds, we should have an up and running system. Let's wait. So, and we can look inside database. Okay, there are a lot of tables there now. That's good. So here we see, okay, setup, admin successfully created. There are no plugins. So compiling theme, compiling files for different bundles, caching apps. So now we are up and ready. Everything is created. We go to localhost and we see finished empty Shopware 6. And if we go to admin and we say admin Shopware, so here we have now also additional steps where we can go next. No demo data, next. We select the default front end, next, and use local environment, skip PayPal, next, skip the part with connection to the store, because, and skip also activation of the store, finish. So now we are ready. So we have Shopware 6 for 20 as we wanted, empty with no products, with no orders, no data. So, and that's the point where we can either start with our development and create under custom or custom plugins, some plugins here. Now we see that we do not have this Dockware IO example plugin. That's the difference, because we now use the Shopware template. Well, that's it. So it's up and running, and now you can set up the debugging like on a dev environment. You can start with the development. You can play around with the console and so on and so forth. In the next videos, I will show you how to create demo data, how to use this Shopware CLI command line here, or Symfony command line, to work with Shopware. So go back here. Here are some links for all the tools, all the information. Here's the template, Shopware developer link, so you can see more information about the template. Thanks, and see you next time.